Hi everyone. So we're in Shar Bitachon at the beginning part of it where Rabbeinu Bachai is talking about the benefits of trust. And I just want to say how brilliant that is, right? Like there's nothing new under the sun, right? Jews, we are believers, descendants of believers. We have an emistikite to us. And of course, internally, the Rebbe explains that we're always doing things for the most purest reasons. But on a conscious level, we're human. And Hashem put us in this physical world with human needs. And generally speaking, especially when we're starting avoda, we need to know that it's going to be beneficial to us. It's just how we are. So Rabbeinu Bachai is brilliant because he starts off the gate of trust saying to us, like, first of all, I'm going to teach you how to do this and how important it is. But the first thing I want to tell you is it's good for you. Like you will benefit from this on a physical, emotional, and spiritual level. So just do it. So I was like, wow, that's actually really smart. So Rabbeinu Bachai tells us we're going to have tranquility of the soul, we're going to not fear other people, and we're going to increase in our Torah and mitzvahs. All of those things are highly beneficial for a Jew, right? On every level. Amazing. Then Rabbeinu Bachai starts to explain that trusting in Hashem is better than being an alchemist in 10 ways. Now, if you've ever learned the Sefer, and a lot of people attempt to learn it and then sort of the style of it is just difficult for them. They're not used to this type of a Sefer, so they stop. But most people get to the alchemist part and are highly confused because none of us in our generation know what an alchemist is. So if, by the way, you have tried to learn the Sefer and you had a hard time with it, I highly recommend Rabbi Shais Taub's 45-part class on the Sefer because it's very good and he goes through the whole thing word for word. Highly recommend. Okay, so what's an alchemist? So thanks to Rabbi Taub, who obviously did research on this, I know what an alchemist is now because when I first learned the Sefer, I had no clue what it was either. And basically, it's a person who was a very sought-after profession in the Middle Ages because they knew how to make counterfeit money. So they could take raw materials and turn it into money, and basically they could get whatever they wanted because they had all this money. Which obviously it's Geneva, it's probably Asur al pi Torah, but people tend to look up to people who have lots of financial resources. Why? Well, listen, it's very important for us to realize that Hashem could have done things differently. He could have given us our needs in a way where we were not dependent on money to get our needs, right? And we know that Hashem is the one who provides us with our needs. So it's not really the money that's buying us anything, but it does appear that way. This is actually why a flask of the man was preserved. Okay, I think we might know where it is. I think the Rebbe explains in a Sikha that it's buried somewhere in Yerushalayim, but we don't have access to it right now, but it's there. Right? So the man would go putrid if they didn't eat it within a day. But there was one flask that was preserved to remind us that just like then our bread came from heaven, so too now. It's just that it doesn't appear that way. It's a test. It really is. It's like to constantly have to do the work to remember that our brachas come from Hashem and that money and people, all of these things have no power over us, and we're not provided for our needs by anyone or anything but Hashem alone. Okay, but it's hard to remember that. It's really hard. So we tend to worship alchemists, or let's say the modern day equivalent of an NFL player, right? Like, how does this person get so good at sports that then they go make millions and millions of dollars, right? And you're like, whoa, if only I were an NFL player. Now, maybe you don't have that dream because it seems like a kind of rowdy sport and it's dangerous, and now they're coming out with that these people may make a lot of money, but they also end up with brain damage and all these terrible things that come from submitting their bodies to this very rough sport, right? But it's the same way with an alchemist. It's the same thing. Like at first people are spoiled by how much money that they have access to, but then when you actually think about it, and this is what Rabbeinu Bachai does, he breaks it down and he shows you how it's actually a very dangerous profession. He has to melt these materials to make the money, and he has to use chemicals and things that are dangerous to his health, and he goes on and on to explain how money itself is really not a security at all. A lot of times people have money, they don't know where to invest it. They invest it and then they can't access it when they need it. Maybe the investment goes sour and they lose all their money, right? So he basically illustrates through the alchemist how money is really just such a volatile thing. And then it's so silly to place your trust in it because it could be here one day and gone the next, and the ways to obtain it can cause us to harm ourselves and etc., right? So I think we can all relate to this, but yet it's revelatory to meditate on it, to be reminded that like money is not a source of anything. All it is a keli for Hashem to bless us when he wants to, in the ways that he wants to. And then we need to remind ourselves to look only to Hashem. So I want to talk about this in relationship with the Geula and the way to look at money now and some things the Rebbe said, but I'm going to leave that for the next clip. Have a good day, everyone.